You must be happy that Arsenal have pulled out of this proposed European Super League. What was your reaction last night when you saw that they fell into line with the other big six clubs?
Well, we were very pleased that Arsenal are no longer part of this so-called Super League. It was a travesty. It had nothing to do with what English football is about, and good riddance.
I mean, the message they sent out to the fans? I mean, if you look at the statements from all the clubs, it seems to be the most kind of grovelling, the most apologetic. Does that give you some heart that the owners do care about the fans?
Well, it would be nice if the owners had actually put their name on the bottom of it. It was signed to the board. You know, it's Stan Kroenke's baby. It's Stan Kroenke's franchise investor owner driven proposal. So that is what I would have liked to have seen happen. But it is, you know, it's good to see an apology, and now we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, do you believe that this is kind of over, that they've learnt their lesson now, or do you condemn them for joining up to
no Stan Kroenke is in Arsenal for self-interest. He's an investor, a franchise holder. He took over the club. He's been involved more than 10 years. At the time, he made a commitment to the takeover panel that he would consult with Arsenal fans, meet with Arsenal fans. Not one meeting in 10 years. It's disgraceful. He's not fit to be the owner of a great institution like Arsenal Football Club.
But do you think he's been rocked by this at all?
Well, whether he'll care, but some of the people that work for the club will have been rocked. There are good people working at Arsenal, but they get their instructions. They knew this was nonsense, that you could tell that they didn't believe in it. But the damage has been done. Arsenal are shamed.
I mean, there's some talk about, this is just kicking the can down the road, and this will all rear its head again. Do you think as long as Kroenke's in charge, that the threat of a kind of a breakaway league and Arsenal being part of it is always going to be there?
The threat of things that are not good for Arsenal and English football will always be there, which is why when I met the Prime Minister yesterday, it's not often that I say that, but when I met the Prime Minister yesterday and told him about the issues we faced, he committed to setting up a governance review, which will be led by former Sports Minister Tracy Crouch, that will look at these very issues, will look at the ownership of English football.
Do you think Boris, he's a rugby fan, isn't he, really? Let's be honest. He doesn't really show any history of caring for football, but do you think this has changed the temperature with him? Do you think he really cares about this?
Well, he didn't claim to be a football fan, and I always think if you're not a football fan, the worst thing you can do is try and pretend. But he said he absolutely got the values. He saw it as one of the country's greatest assets. Football, its clubs, but its clubs only exist like they do because of the bonds that supporters have for them. So, you must take people at their word. We also met with Keir Starmer, the leader of the opposition, and he also gave us commitment, and he said it's his job to keep the government to account in Parliament. Ultimately, we will probably need new legislation if we're to get substantive change, and that will require both political parties. So I was very encouraged at how the Prime Minister cleared his desk to deal with this crisis.
What would you like to see going forward? That a lot of people are talking about the German model, the fan ownership model. Is that a realistic aim for Premier League teams to be looking at now we've had this kind of moment that could change football forever, hopefully?
That's what the review that Tracy Crouch will lead has to look at. And yes, we should look hard at the 50+1 and see how we might get there. There are other ways. There could be the right to buy shares. There could be the right to have a 10% stake. There could be what you call the golden share, which is kind of like a veto voting right that you have over significant decisions that the club might make. There could be the appointment of a board member or a shadow board in the club that has legal duties within the constitutional framework. There are many things that need looking at. I think everybody sees the German model as being particularly commendable, but that's now where we have to put evidence in. But one thing's absolutely clear, and that enough is enough, and things have to change.
Do you think the fan voice here has been the thing that changed the mood on this? Was it the players? Some of the players, obviously led by...
No, it was the fans. Well, this is such a disgusting, disgraceful idea for English football that it was almost a unanimous view, but it was the upswell from the fans. The players, ultimately, they're fans of football. They start off playing and they end up in their clubs and they go up and down through the pyramid system. So most of them understand the solidarity. But the fury and the rage was best articulated by the fans.
Yeah, and has that surprised you that sometimes fans get written off. We've had a year without fans in the stadium, and football has continued. That the power is still there amongst the man in the street. The people just genuinely follow these teams.
Not really, because I know how passionate fans are, and I've seen a growing movement here. It wasn't that long ago that a great uprising, again coordinated by fan groups and fans, saw the charge of £15 pay-per-view to watch a game. Perhaps we've undone ourselves recently as fans, and it's come to be recognised by ourselves that without us, the game's nothing. And if we organise and pick up, we can secure change. And we're certainly not going to stop now.
And just finally, what about you and your future with Arsenal? I mean, it's difficult not to support your club, isn't it? But when they test your resolve, when they do things like this, it must be hard. I mean, did you think about cancelling things like season tickets? And I've spoken to a lot of fans who have said that to me in the last few days. What's the future going to look like for you and your fellow Arsenal fans?
Well, it's a really difficult decision because, I think of it as my club, even though sadly it's owned by this imposter. I don't want to give it up. I've had a season ticket since I was 11, grew up in Highbury. So it's very, very hard to see me giving up. Perhaps if this had gone ahead, I thought about I'd buy the season ticket, but would I turn up in funeral black? Would I turn up and lay a wreath? Would I turn up to protest? I tend to think about how I keep my relationship, but show that I'm not happy, because that's part of the problem. No matter how bad Arsenal get, I can't go up the road to Spurs, can I? Can't do that. It's not like Sainsbury's let me down, I go to Tesco's. And that's kind of what the Prime Minister recognised as a special institutional role in our lives of football clubs. And that's why I'm so pleased that there is a commitment to do something about it.